On June 18, 2022, disturbing news rippled across Japan. Deep inside a secluded forest, a woman's body had been found. She was hanging from a tree, completely naked, with dark bruises and ligature marks circling her neck. The isolation of the scene, the silence of the woods, and the grotesque way her body was displayed made the discovery deeply unsettling. Her remains were already decomposing, suggesting she had been dead for quite some time. At first glance, investigators assumed it was a horrific case of sexual assault. A lone unclothed woman found in the wilderness almost always pointed toward violence, violation, and predatory intent. But as the police began piecing the facts together, they realized this was not just a brutal attack. It was the beginning of a far darker story, one driven by lust, obsession, and the hidden depravity of a man who appeared to everyone else like an ordinary, harmless salaryman. This is the kidnapping and murder case of Rina Arano. Just 4 days before the body was discovered, on June 14, police had arrested a 33-year-old office worker named Hiroyuki Sanbei. He was taken into custody at his villa in Hitachi City, located in Ibaraki Prefecture, on suspicion of kidnapping. During questioning, Sanbei admitted he had met with the woman reported missing, 23-year-old adult model and performer Rina Arano. He claimed they had arranged to meet outside Mito Station, and indeed, CCTV footage confirmed this. The video showed Rina stepping willingly into Sanbei's car. From that moment forward, she disappeared. When investigators searched his villa, they found no trace of Rina. No clothing, no belongings, nothing to indicate where she had gone after entering his car. But what they did find sent a chill through the entire investigative team. Dozens of explicit photos and videos of Rina. Some showed her in sexually suggestive poses. Others revealed disturbing scenes involving bondage and sadomasochistic acts. The man performing these acts looked unmistakably like Sanbei. He insisted everything had been consensual. But when police pressed him with the simple question, "Where is Rina now?" he had no answer. Search teams were sent out immediately. Sanbei's villa was tucked away in a quiet rural part of Ibaraki, surrounded mostly by elderly residents and deep, thick forest. Officers expanded their search outward, combing through woods, ravines, and narrow trails. Then, on June 18, in the dense forest behind the villa, they found her. A young woman's body was discovered hanging naked from a tree. Bruises and pressure marks encircled her neck, and decomposition suggested she had been dead for nearly 2 weeks. Many officers later admitted it was one of the most disturbing crime scenes they had ever witnessed. The body was transported for autopsy. 3 days later, on June 21, the forensic results were released. The victim showed clear signs of physical abuse prior to death. The official cause was a broken cervical bone, likely the result of manual strangulation. Time of death was estimated to be around 2 weeks before her discovery. Yet there were no personal items, no phone, no wallet, no ID. So police released a detailed physical description to the public. Within hours, online fans recognized her distinctive features, especially a small mole and the unique shape of her teeth. They believed the victim was Rina Arano, the missing 23-year-old adult video performer with a substantial online following. Police then contacted her family. They had filed a missing person report on June 8, stating that Rina was last seen on June 5. Surveillance footage again confirmed the final sighting, Rina entering a car with a man near Mito Station. That man was Hiroyuki Sanbei. 3 days after the autopsy report, his name resurfaced publicly, now connected not just to a missing person case, but to a brutal killing. It became clear that the man already in custody was deeply entangled in this horrific crime. And yet, strangely, despite the shocking nature of the case, a naked body, strangulation, and a possible sadomasochistic connection, the media coverage remained oddly muted. There were no major announcements about trial dates, no public courtroom updates, and no detailed reporting on whether justice was ever fully served. The silence became just another layer to a crime already steeped in darkness. The silence surrounding the case only fueled public suspicion. People began to speculate whether Sanbei's family had influence, enough to push the story out of the spotlight before the truth could fully emerge. Why had a case as disturbing as Rina's death faded so quickly? Why were there no solid updates, no steady reports, and no clear path to justice? To understand the tragedy, one had to ask, who were Hiroyuki and Rina? What connected them? And how did a young woman like Rina Arano end up at the center of such a horrifying crime? Rina Arano was born in 1999, the youngest of three sisters. She grew up in what many would describe as an ideal household. Her father worked for a foreign pharmaceutical company, a man who left the house every morning in a crisp, tailored suit, polished and professional. Her mother was known throughout the neighborhood for both her kindness and her striking beauty. Tall, slim, big-eyed, with the kind of delicate features people said belonged in a magazine. Her parents' good looks flowed naturally into their daughters. Locals often described the three sisters as doll-like. The eldest had a soft, classic good girl appearance, sweet, neat, always smiling. Lena, the youngest, was admired for her porcelain-like complexion and gentle, almost serene demeanor. Their home didn't just look perfect from the outside. Neighbors recalled the Arano family as genuinely warm, respectful, and well-mannered. Rina grew up in downtown Tokyo. As a child, she was a little shy, but she made an effort to greet people politely with a smile. She was small for her age, which only added to her doll-like charm. Despite her quiet nature, she was well-liked. Some classmates even said she was among the most popular girls at school. Fun, friendly, confident, and easy to talk to. She excelled both academically and athletically. At one point, she was chosen to represent her school in a relay team. But what truly set her apart from a young age was her interest in beauty and self-care. While most elementary school girls didn't pay much attention to skincare or dieting, Rina already had routines. She talked about wanting lighter skin, about maintaining her weight, about looking her best. Classmates remembered her not just as someone influenced by beauty standards, but as a girl with a clear vision of her future. That future, she believed, was in medicine. She wanted to become a doctor, to help people, save lives, and bring comfort to those who needed it. She studied with that goal in mind, and for a long time it seemed she truly meant to pursue it. After elementary school, Rina entered Yamawaki Gakuen, a well-regarded private all-girls school in Akasaka. Most students there went straight to university. Rina's photos from that period show her with neat braided pigtails, the standard school hairstyle, which suited her pure, modest image. But after graduating, her path shifted dramatically. Unlike her classmates, Rina did not go to college. Instead, she enrolled in a medical vocational program, possibly nursing. But shortly after beginning, she dropped out without explanation. And that was when everything changed. After leaving school, Rina entered the adult industry almost immediately. Perhaps she began with small jobs in cabaret clubs. But by early 2019, she was already making a name for herself in the world of soaplands, adult bathhouses offering private services. She worked at an establishment called New Ruby in Yoshiwara, under a nickname used by clients. She didn't remain unnoticed. Rina rose quickly, reportedly climbing toward the #1 ranking at the establishment. She built a loyal clientele, drawing in men who returned specifically to see her. In that world, she wasn't just another face. She became a star. But this newfound life pulled her deeper into a difficult cycle, one that few escape unscathed. Rina became a regular at host clubs, extravagant nightlife venues where women pay male hosts for attention, drinks, and entertainment. And she wasn't just a casual visitor. Friends said she was addicted to the lifestyle. The glamour, the flattery, the illusion of affection. Eventually, she left her family home entirely and moved into Kabukicho, Tokyo's most infamous red light district. It was a world of neon lights and hidden dangers, a world that would ultimately lead her into the path of Hiroyuki Sanpei, and into the tragedy that would shock Japan. It is widely believed that Rina lived in Kabukicho with her boyfriend at the time, a man who, according to several sources, was a host himself. Rina didn't merely visit host clubs. She spent heavily. Champagne towers, lavish gifts, extravagant tributes. Her nights out were legendary. On some evenings, she reportedly dropped 700,000 yen in a single sitting. That's more than $5,000 in one night, a lifestyle impossible to sustain with her parents' money alone. Many believe that this pressure to maintain appearances, combined with her desire to support her boyfriend financially, ultimately pushed her into working as a soap lady. For a long time, the identity of this boyfriend remained a mystery. But as the story unfolded, rumors began circling around a well-known host, Hitoi Hyaki, a top star at Club Descent in Kabukicho, Shinjuku. If these rumors were true, Rina hadn't just fallen for any host. She had become involved with one of the most influential men in the nightlife scene. But the relationship didn't last. Sometime in 2021, the two reportedly broke up, and Rina returned to her parents' home. Yet even after returning to her family, she didn't leave the adult industry. In fact, many believe she never intended to. By then, she had fully embraced the world she had entered. Between February 2021 and June 2022, just before her disappearance, Rina appeared in 82 adult videos, most produced under FC2, a popular independent Japanese platform used by indie adult creators. Her presence in these videos was first recognized on an anonymous forum. Users on 5channel noticed that the missing woman, Rina Arano, had the same mole and identical teeth as an AV actress known as Maritan. However, her eyes looked slightly different. This sparked speculation that she had undergone cosmetic surgery to enhance her appearance. As the theory spread, Maritan's videos mysteriously disappeared from the platform, fueling even more suspicion. Many now believed the missing woman was Maritan. To understand this, it's important to know how Japan's indie adult industry works, especially through sites like FC2 and Twitter. It's a completely different universe from mainstream studios. Many creators advertise their work under vague terms like modeling, never explicitly mentioning adult content. The photographers and producers are often amateurs, and payment varies widely. Whether a model shows her face can dramatically impact her earnings. Some performers reportedly earn over 200,000 yen for a single shoot. By this point, Rina had become a popular model. She had even launched her own fan club, generating over 1 million yen per month. Her Twitter following grew quickly as well, and before her account went private, the replies were filled with adoring messages from fans who admired her. It was through this rising Twitter fame that she caught the attention of a man named Hiroyuki Sanpei. So who exactly was Hiroyuki, and what led a man like him to pursue someone like Rina? Hiroyuki Sanpei was born in September 1988, the eldest son in his family. He came from Koriyama City in Fukushima Prefecture, but moved to the United States when he was still in kindergarten after his father, an engineer for a major company, was transferred overseas. Hiroyuki lived in the U.S. until the 6th grade. When the family returned to Japan in April 2001, Hiroyuki entered a local junior high school. Despite spending much of his childhood abroad, he readjusted quickly. According to classmates, he blended in effortlessly and made friends with ease. It is believed that Hiroyuki lived with his grandfather for a period of time, at least until he entered high school. Thanks to his family's wealth, he had access to elite education and every academic advantage money could provide. After graduating from high school in Japan, he went on to attend a university in the United States. His mother was described as heavily involved in his upbringing, dedicated, attentive, and determined to guide her son toward success. His father, however, seemed more distant. Neighbors recalled hearing unsettling noises coming from the house late at night, the sound of objects being thrown, crashes echoing through the quiet neighborhood. Over the years, people noticed Hiroyuki himself growing increasingly volatile, and at some point, he reportedly became violent toward members of his own family. In his 20s, Hiroyuki eventually married. His wife was someone he had attended high school with. They were never close back then, but after reconnecting through social media years later, a relationship formed and ultimately led to marriage. From the outside, Hiroyuki appeared to have built a perfect life. He had a promising career, strong English skills gained from his years in the US, and a work record that put him ahead of his peers. His language ability gave him a clear advantage in Japan's corporate world, earning him early promotions, high pay, and glowing evaluations. To acquaintances, he seemed like the image of success. A stable job, a bright future, and a beautiful, kind wife by his side. But beneath that carefully polished exterior, something darker was growing. In November 2016, Hiroyuki purchased a villa in Hitachi City, Ibaraki Prefecture. He moved in with his wife, and at first they seemed like an idyllic couple. Neighbors recalled seeing them sitting together on the wooden deck, drinking tea and enjoying the tranquil surroundings. To anyone passing by, they looked peaceful, affectionate, and genuinely happy. But 6 months to a year later, the atmosphere changed. The couple mentioned to an elderly neighbor that they were planning to relocate to Kawasaki. Soon after they moved out. Only Hiroyuki returned periodically, every month or two, to trim the garden or pull weeds. His wife never came back, and people began quietly wondering what had happened. When the shocking murder case later made headlines, pieces of the truth finally emerged. Hiroyuki's wife had filed for divorce. Not because of distance, career conflicts, or incompatibility, but because of his criminal history. During what should have been the early, joyful years of their marriage, Hiroyuki had been arrested 3 separate times between 2016 and 2017. The first arrest occurred in January 2016 for assaulting a police officer in Hitachi City during an incident the previous month. Although the officer suffered minor injuries, Hiroyuki denied the charges and ultimately faced no serious consequences. But things escalated. On January 17, 2017, he was arrested again, this time for grabbing a 26-year-old woman on the street without consent, hugging her, and then shoving her violently to the ground. She sustained injuries that required 3 weeks to heal. Then came the third arrest just days later, on January 25. Hiroyuki was caught strangling a 32-year-old woman from behind, dragging her down and assaulting her. The facade of the perfect life shattered, revealing a pattern of predatory violence long hidden beneath the polished, successful image he presented to the world. All 3 women Hiroyuki attacked were complete strangers, random people he had approached on the street. And yet, despite the severity of the second and third assaults, he somehow managed to avoid prosecution. According to later reports, Hiroyuki and his father paid large settlement fees to the victims. Money kept him out of jail, but it couldn't save his marriage. The moment his wife learned what he had done, she left him immediately. After the divorce, Hiroyuki quit his company and relocated to Minamiazu City in Kanagawa Prefecture in December 2017. Not long after, he secured a position at Fuji Film Engineering, a major regional company, as a chief-level employee. But how did a man with a violent criminal history land such a high-ranking job? The answer was simple: he lied. He falsified parts of his career history, omitting any mention of his arrests and violent behavior. Even in this new workplace, his attitude didn't change. Reports later revealed that he often caused trouble for his colleagues and developed a reputation for disruptive, inappropriate behavior. So how did Hiroyuki Sanpei and Rina Arano, 2 individuals from completely different worlds, cross paths? It began with Twitter. Hiroyuki discovered Rina through her social media, where she regularly promoted her content and interacted with fans. She often replied to supportive messages, hoping to find potential collaborators for photo shoots or adult video work. Hiroyuki messaged her pretending to be a harmless admirer, just another fan who enjoyed her work. They began talking frequently, and at some point, likely around February or March 2022, Rina agreed to meet him in person. What happened during that first meeting remains unknown. Some believe they discussed filming a video together. Others suspect a private arrangement. No one can say for certain. But one truth is clear. Whatever took place during these encounters eventually led to a situation Rina did not survive. After weeks of online messaging, they planned a second meeting to finalize the terms of their contract before filming any content. The date was June 5, 2022. They arranged to meet at around 10 a.m. at the north exit of JR Mito station. That morning Rina, still living with her parents, told them she was going out to meet an acquaintance. Just a casual outing. She promised she would be home by evening. But Rina never returned. Her parents waited through the evening, then through the night, then through the next day. After 3 days with no contact, panic set in. They called her friends, co-workers, and anyone who might have seen her. No one had any information. On June 8, they officially reported her missing. Investigators immediately began retracing her steps. They checked locations she often visited, reviewed footage from nearby surveillance cameras, and searched for anything that might reveal where she went after leaving home. That was when they found it, the crucial CCTV clip. The footage, recorded near Mito station, showed Rina getting into a car with a man. The timestamp matched the day she disappeared. Police traced the license plate, which led them to a quiet villa hidden among the trees in Hitachi City, Ibaraki Prefecture. The villa was isolated, with only a handful of neighbors nearby. Locals helped identify the owner, Hiroyuki Sanpei, the 33-year-old salaryman whom neighbors had recently seen visiting the villa more often. On June 14, police brought Hiroyuki in for questioning. First, he denied everything. He admitted that he knew Rina, but insisted he had nothing to do with her disappearance. Investigators didn't believe him. They divided into 2 teams. One searched the villa while the other analyzed Hiroyuki's phone. What they found sent shockwaves through the investigation. Inside the villa, officers discovered a basement, not one filled with boxes or furniture, but a dimly lit room containing a bed and handcuffs bolted to the frame. The mattress showed traces of an unknown substance, likely lubricant or dried semen. Meanwhile, digital forensics uncovered a collection of homemade videos on Hiroyuki's phone. The footage showed a woman handcuffed, involved in BDSM acts with a man believed to be Hiroyuki. The videos were crude, unprofessional, and disturbing. When investigators examined the woman's face closely, they realized it was Rina. Their suspicions intensified. They questioned Hiroyuki again and asked him directly, "Where is she?" Hiroyuki stuck to his story. Yes, he met Rina. Yes, they filmed videos. But he insisted he had nothing to do with her disappearance. Investigators knew he was lying. Yes, the videos involved BDSM. But Hiroyuki insisted that everything was consensual. According to him, once the filming ended, he simply dropped Rina off at a nearby shop. That was the end of it, or so he claimed. Still, investigators refused to accept his vague explanations. They widened the search around the villa, combing through every dirt path, every narrow trail, and every shadowed corner of the dense forest surrounding the property. Then, on the morning of June 18th, a chilling scream pierced the quiet woods. A man searching the area had stumbled upon something horrific. Frozen in shock, he could only lift a trembling finger toward a nearby tree. There, tied upright against the trunk, completely naked and half decomposed, was a woman's body. The smell was overwhelming. Several officers vomited as soon as they approached. The scene was grotesque. Her skin had darkened and bloated from decay, but even in that condition, some details were unmistakable. The Metropolitan Police Department quickly released an initial statement. There were no visible external injuries, except for a distinct wound on the neck. It wasn't a cut. It was a pressure mark, the unmistakable imprint of strangulation. There was no identification on the body, no clothing, no personal belongings. Nothing that could reveal who she was. The remains were immediately sent for autopsy. On June 21st, forensic results confirmed their worst suspicions. The woman's left hyoid bone, a small U-shaped bone at the base of the tongue, was fractured and even split. Such an injury required considerable force, the kind caused by manual strangulation. Her official cause of death: compression of the neck. At first, investigators considered whether she might be connected to another unresolved case. They released details of her physical features, hoping someone would recognize her. And someone did. Fans reached out, claiming that the mole on her face and the shape of her teeth matched a young woman they followed online. Rina Arano, a 23-year-old adult video actress with a devoted fan base. Police contacted her family, who had already filed a missing person report earlier that month. The identification was confirmed. Rina had vanished on June 5. The last known image of her alive was the CCTV footage showing her voluntarily entering a car with Hiroyuki Sanpei. Everything was beginning to align. But even with the mounting evidence, the videos, the basement, the physical traces, and now the body, Hiroyuki kept repeating the same claims. He said nothing more, refused to explain further, and hid behind silence. This time, though, silence couldn't shield him. On June 24, the Metropolitan Police officially rearrested Hiroyuki, this time on suspicion of abandoning a corpse. The investigation continued. Then, on September 9, just months after Rina's body was found, Hiroyuki was arrested again, this time on suspicion of murder. But beyond those announcements, almost nothing else has been made public. There have been no clear updates on how prosecutors proceeded, which charges stuck, or whether Hiroyuki has received any punishment at all. And that silence has fueled endless speculation. Some believe Hiroyuki may have found a way to avoid severe consequences. According to his own version, he and Rina filmed a consensual BDSM session, and her death was a tragic accident during filming. If he managed to raise enough doubt, or if evidence was insufficient, he could avoid a murder conviction entirely. But many others aren't convinced. To them, Hiroyuki was not an unlucky man caught in a misunderstanding. He was someone with a documented pattern of violence, a man who had repeatedly harmed women, exploited them, and walked away each time. In their eyes, Rina's death was not an accident. It was the horrific, inevitable result of a man whose obsession and brutality crossed every limit. The case also sparked broader discussions about the safety of sex workers, especially those who work independently or through smaller agencies, where protection is limited and predators often lurk unseen. People began asking difficult but necessary questions. If someone agrees to provide a service, does that automatically mean they consent to everything? What happens when that consent is violated? Being a sex worker does not mean giving up the right to boundaries or safety. Sadly, that is something society continues to misunderstand. At the same time, some of the public discourse took a dark, unsettling turn. Instead of discussing justice, consent, or accountability, a few people started digging up Rina's old adult videos or questioning why anyone would film content with someone like Hiroyuki. It is hard to imagine a more disrespectful reaction. These responses show just how far we still have to go in acknowledging the dignity and humanity of those who work in the adult industry. Regardless of someone's job, no one deserves to die the way Rina did. And even though we still lack clarity on the full legal outcome, I hope she receives the justice she deserves. Above all, may she rest in peace. So, what do you think happened? Was Rina murdered? Or was it truly an accident during a shoot gone wrong? And beyond this case, where should society draw the line between consent, control, and exploitation? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.